Hi everybody, this is Anthony O'Flynn coming to you live from the Sunshine Coast, and I'll be offering an energetic update for the coming equinox, the autumn equinox in the southern hemisphere where I am, and the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. So I'm sure all the northern hemisphere people are looking forward to a prosperous and thriving spring and coming summer ahead. So equinox is basically Latin term equi meaning equal and nox meaning night, so it's having a connection to this midpoint between the two solstices. And in fact the two solstices and the two equinoxes form the four cardinal points. So when we actually have the equinox and the solstices, it's the connection to the beginning of one of the four cardinal signs, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. So obviously there's a polarity there between the Aries and the Libra and the Cancer and the Capricorn, but it's a very significant astrological date because it's essentially the new year in astrology, and it really has a powerful time for new beginnings, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and with this enthusiasm of the Aries, it's a fire sign, cardinal sign. It really is a very potent time for action, for goals, for actually taking action in the physical world. And so much so that actually Sri Yukteswar, who was the guru of Paramahamsa Yogananda, he actually said that 0 degree Aries, 1 degree Aries, this time that we're about to experience was the most significant, most powerful time in the entire astrological year, calendar year. I've actually been to his ashram in Puri in India. Obviously he's no longer with us, but he's what's called Samadhi, the place where he's actually buried. It's very powerful, energetic location, very strong energy coming through the crown. And if you actually read Autobiography of a Yogi, as amazing as Yogananda was, he was incredible yogi, enlightened master. You actually do come away with a massive respect for his guru, who was also very powerful, very profound, very enlightened man. So this moment of equinox is a critical one, and we can use it for our advantage. It's a very auspicious occasion and very powerful to actually take action, particularly with this connection to the Aries, which Aries is really known for being such powerful action takers. The equinox itself in Australia will be on Thursday the 21st of March at 8 AM Queensland time. So I'm doing this ahead of schedule because I want to give people some opportunity to prepare for Thursday, because it is really such an auspicious day. I know myself, I have postponed beginning new actions until this moment ticks over to take full advantage of this wave of the beginning, this energy of the beginning, which is also supported by this energy of Ganesha. Ganesha also symbolizing the energy of the beginning. So I'm giving an energetic update for the equinox, taking into account this time lag from the previous solstice to equinox, and also moving forward to the next solstice in June. So what to say? I mean, it's a massive amount of topics to cover. There's so much going on the planet. We live in epic times is an understatement, and the intensity of the times has particularly been reflected by numerous events that are occurring at a global scale and also in our personal lives. And I'm really quite it's quite a profound timing for this video, because there really are so many themes coming forward now that we are being confronted with, both in a positive way and in a negative way. In that context, and the light and the dark really is connecting with new levels. So I really see that this overall global planetary awakening will intensify rapidly in the next decade, and this is really the precursor to it this year. I don't consider 2020, just because it's a new decade, to be significant in that way, but the astrology of 2020 itself is very powerful in the sense that we are going to experience a lot of chaos and breaking down of the old paradigm, and simultaneous emerging of the new paradigm. So what I am going to cover today will address some of these key topics, and you can see that it's really going to take us out of our comfort zone at an individual and a collective level. So first thing I wanted to mention was the massive spike of the Schumann resonance over the weekend. I've been keeping my eye on the Schumann resonance for some time. Basically the Earth's vibrational field, which usually vibrates at about 7.8 hertz. That's the standard. Now on the weekend, the information that I've been researching, if it's correct, shows that it went to 150, which is actually the max, the highest it can possibly be, which is unprecedented. And many people are focusing on their macabre, their ascension, their own awakening in terms of their energetic field. But the reality is that we are as much connected to the Earth as the Earth is connected to us. There is this relationship that is symbiotic in a way, and we are really having a relationship to the transformation of our mother, and it cannot be avoided. We are all on this planet and we're all on this Earth, on Gaia, and her vibrational shift will directly affect ours. This is unavoidable, and this shift on the weekend, this massive unprecedented spike, it's actually returned the Schumann resonance to relatively lower levels today. Really produced some profound effects in myself, and 20 years of working with the energetic bodies, etheric body, astral body. What I experienced on Sunday night, Australia time, was completely unprecedented for me. It was basically an intense opening of the energetic bodies, so much so that it was producing sharp pains, not in both the physical and the energetic body, which I have never experienced before. Now, I've experienced all kinds of purifications and manifestations of Kundalini Shakti moving, different effects of the awakening of the chakras, the activation of the chakras, but this was completely next level for me, because the thing that actually struck me that was probably the most profound is that this shifting that was occurring, this energetic doorway that was opening, actually wasn't in the energetic heart of Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. It was actually located in the physical heart, and there wasn't really any of these sensations that I'm discussing now in the actual heart chakra, which is being activated more continually and constantly through the shift, spontaneously, through the connection to the subtle energy. But this was actually more directed to the physical heart. So this was actually quite a profound thing for me. It continued on for maybe 4 or 5 hours and then dropped off completely. So it wasn't until I looked into the actual Schumann resonance to see where it was going that I realized that this was, in my opinion, in my view, a causal effect, which means that the cause of this phenomenon in me was basically because of the shift in the Schumann resonance. So what I've noticed in this, though, is there is a time lag, and I don't necessarily think that when the resonance shifts, it causes instantaneous shifts in the human etheric body, in the human astral body, and that is still a work in progress. I'm still forming my opinion around that, but what I'm feeling is that there's a time lag. So the Schumann resonance goes up and then the effects start to show up, manifest. A little bit like as if you go water skiing, the boat takes off, and then you then follow the boat with the rope and everything. So there is something of a time lag. At least that's what I'm feeling so far. So keep an eye on this Schumann resonance. It's going to be one of the profound aspects of this paradigm shift, because this connection to Gaia herself, going through her own awakening, her own shift, shifting density, shifting vibration, and the phenomenon will produce earth changes. That's one of the other things that I am coming in up on my radar. The big ones I don't think will start this decade or this year, but will start next decade. And that will be something that will affect us all. And there won't be a human on this planet eventually that doesn't actually understand there is something quite profound going on the planet. There is something unprecedented in this overall change of the yugas, of the cycles, of the ages, whatever name you want to give to it, it really doesn't matter. It's a shifting of consciousness, and it is unstoppable. It is simply going to get stronger and stronger and more profound. The time frames, of course, is not able to evaluate the time frames in linear time. And many people have been prophesizing that March will create this ascension. I don't see that at all happening at this stage, although that can change even by tomorrow or in a moment, because this shift is not dependent upon linear time. Although the equinox is a significant auspicious astrological moment, it is still anchored in this 3D matrix. It of course has connections to the solar system more broadly, but it's still not dependent upon this 5D vibration, which is beyond space, beyond time. So this continued way of analysing things at a linear perspective is very, very limited, and it will not produce good data or good information. And many of these false prophets of the New Age, I don't know if you've seen the pattern that happens all the time, then they go on months to come to another date that they anchor all their attention on, that doesn't come to fruition, because unconditional love, it is not dependent on time or space. It is a vibration, it is a form of consciousness. If humanity shifted that to that vibration even by 5 units, if you want to think of it like that, the shifts that would occur around the planet would be instantaneous. But it's only if we can shift the collective. So we can only be responsible for our own individual awakening, but it is a collective effort to shift the vibration out of this lower density, which I'll come to, this density that is dominant with fear. So, but this Schumann resonance shift is actually an amazing sign, and I'm excited to see where this goes over the course of this year, because it really will be quite profound. So as far as all the prophecies with going in March, I don't see that happening at all. I'd be happy to be wrong about that, but I just don't see that happening. Next topic, disclosure. Disclosure. Many people have also in the UFO community have called for disclosure this year, that 2019 will be the year of disclosure, that it's time for disclosure, that in this day and age it's ridiculous to consider that we're alone in the universe. While all that may be true, I don't see disclosure happening in 2019 at all. Not officially. And there are deeper reasons for this that we need to consider. When we look at cause and effect, we're only looking at the effect if we consider disclosure, the effect being disclosure. But what would cause disclosure? And that's the missing part of the equation, because there needs to have something change behind the scenes internally with the powers that be to produce the effect of disclosure. Now, this may be a controversial opinion, but people who are predicting disclosure, often they're too close to the topic and they don't understand the power dynamic that is associated with the disclosure at a deeper level. Because the part of the paradigm shift that people are not really considering is that sovereignty is one of the big aspects of the paradigm shift that we need to all embrace. And by that, I mean that our belief systems, who we are, is not dependent upon someone else's approval or confirmation. So when we consider that we need disclosure, that some leader of a country stands behind a podium and makes an announcement to a media that goes viral in minutes, well, this is like attaching our own belief system or our confirmation of our opinions or our experience of reality to somebody else. And not only that, to a certain leader or figure or public head of this paradigm we live in now, which is not part of the shift. So disclosure is everywhere. It's all around us if you have eyes to see it. There are people who are having experiences in terms of UFOs, contact experiences continually. It's nothing new. It's been going on for centuries, in fact. But disclosure is the courage for us individually to stand up for what we believe in and make that public, and not be labelled in a certain derogatory way because of the belief in little green men or whatever that is. So the disclosure, it needs to not happen from an official disclosure, in my view, because we need to see how dysfunctional the government is, and we need to see how unable they were to communicate the reality of this existence. And this will actually perpetuate a new paradigm or a new form of government or a new form of co-creation because of the dysfunction that is experienced and available for everybody to see. So there are much bigger levels, deeper levels of this whole game that's playing out. And of course, the disclosure may come at some point, but when the situation has been completely lost control of, that they cannot control or keep the existence of extraterrestrials or various forms of contact or use of ET technology or whatever it is hidden, cloaked from the public, from the general masses. So that is my take on disclosure. I sincerely hope I'm wrong about what I've just said, because I would like to see the official disclosure, because it would actually accelerate the awakening of humanity radically, but I don't foresee that in the short term. So in terms of the energetic vibration of 2019, the activations so far have not been particularly powerful. They've been steady up until just the weekend. They've been steady, but not overall spiking or peaking. So going forward, I think there will be a continued momentum of the vibration, of the ease of connecting to the higher vibrations continuing, with moments of spiking, but then reducing back to lower levels. And the reason for this is that the etheric body, the nadis, the etheric body can only handle so much energy at a certain time to assimilate that energy before it can go to the next level. It's like the activation of Kundalini Shakti, the opening of the chakras, the connection to these energetic bodies. The energy, if it's too coarse, it can actually damage the etheric body, the energetic body, the nadis. So this needs to be a gradual stepping up, a gradual expansion of the aura, a gradual purification of the nadis. And this actually gives a better integration to the energies, to the consciousness. If it was too fast, it would actually perhaps be traumatic to people, because this is the way these bodies are structured. And so when we're talking about the ascension process of humanity, I see this as gradual in the next 2 decades. So when we're looking at terms of the event is already happening now. This spike of the Schumann resonance, that's part of the event. The event is not a single duration. It is something that will gradually grow into as we evolve and as we transform. The most important thing we can do is purify the energetic bodies through our diet, through our lifestyle, through our emotional, through our thoughts, changing the way we relate to the universe, and as a consequence the universe relates to us. So as I see it, this event, we're actually already in it. It's already started, it's already begun. There will be watershed moments, perhaps such as the Schumann resonance, as I've just mentioned previously, when we look back in time in the rear vision mirror. But as far as the actual a moment, a date or something like this, I don't see it like that at all. I see that there will be a gradual higher integration of energies. Even in the astral at the moment, there's a lot of very powerful things occurring in the astral in terms of purification of the aura, activation of the aura, healing of the aura, releasing of blockages, releasing of tension, and this overall connecting to a higher frequency, which is very powerful if you can become more conscious in the astral, become more lucid in the lucid dreaming state, and anchor these energies more and more in our being. So this is the event, as I see it, is ongoing. It's ongoing. It won't be something that it basically happens in the space of 12 hours or something like that. So let's see how that goes. But I would say that the next 2 decades are the ones that will really unfold, particularly the ignition phase of the 2020 decade. Not because it's a new decade, just simply because, as I see it, if you were climbing a mountain and you were walking through the foothills of the mountain, and you would, as the analogy, where does the foothills end and the mountain begin? Whereas from my perspective, we're actually coming out of the foothills now, and we're approaching the actual climbing of the mountain, not the summit, but the mountain itself. So this is because of different levels of the paradigm shift as well. And I know the New Agers just want to focus on the light body, the 5D integration, but there's a lot of aspects that need to be cleared out in the physical world that just can't be ignored. So for this reason, the way I see things is that there's going to be massive social chaos in the next decade in terms of this idea of the apocalypse, because this age of the revealing, that we're in this apocalypse, that this is the time that the things are revealed, that what has been hidden is coming to the surface, and there will be mass social upheaval in terms of social issues that are affecting everyone, some of them including 5G, chemtrails, the revealing of various forms of institutionalized pedophilia, whether it's GMO food, unequal distribution of wealth. This will rapidly intensify in the next decade because people are starting to get activated, and people are now starting to get energized and more participating in the democratic process, and really coming to the conclusion that the elected people who are representing us in the government are not actually doing so for our best interest. And this is across the whole spectrum of social, political, economic, environmental issues, and this will intensify as the problems intensify. So you can already see that happening now. It's quite profound, actually, some of the shifts in public opinion towards institutions and the dissatisfaction with the current status quo in terms of the government and the actions of the elected officials, and at times how completely incompetent they truly are at actually doing their job, and people are just simply not accepting that anymore. Here in Australia, we have officially we'll have a federal election this year, which is going to be extremely interesting to see how it plays out, particularly with how many people actually do not get sucked into the left-right paradigm, simply believing that the Labor Party is the solution to the woes of the Liberal Party, and realising that they're basically two birds of the same wing, that they're ultimately perpetuating the same agenda. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes, because the difference between the left and right paradigm is becoming revealed or obvious to everyone, that the agenda that's being implemented at all the different levels is not really the agenda that the people who are electing these officials are actually have in their best interest. So that is going to be something that is just totally baked in the cake, as I see it. Whether it's a manifestation of things like the Yellow Vest movement, I mean, I am not one for violence in any way, any form of activism. Violence means you've already failed in this way. It's just useless. Violence never solves anything. And this is going to affect everyone, particularly the apathy that we have here in Australia is going to be completely removed because of the total impending economic chaos that will unfold in this country. If this is new information to you, then I suggest you do the research, because Australia is already officially now in a per capita recession. I see that going into an official recession at the latest by June quarter next year. It is going to be absolutely a one-way ticket to economic all kinds of turmoil in the Australian economy. Our debt to GDP ratio is now at 120. There are some people referring to the Australian property market as Ireland 2.0. If you don't know what happened in Ireland, you should go and look at that and do the research, because that's what's occurring here now. More than $270 billion has been wiped off the housing market since March 2018. There's all kind of mortgage stress unfolding, and some commentators are saying from the housing peak in 2017, they'll be down across the board 20 to 30%. I think that could even be higher, much higher than that. There's places in Liverpool, in Sydney, which are already now down over 20%. And unfortunately, it's because of a whole range of issues that this is going to actually shift the entire Australian economy, and it's unstoppable at this point. Even the banks are tightening up the lending. That, you know, it's getting more difficult to lend the money. All kinds of data indicates this, everything from consumer confidence to building approvals, everything like this. So this is something to be aware of. This is not financial advice in any way. I don't give financial advice. I'm just simply observing what I see unfolding and looking at the data, because the data is simply indicating all these trends. So this is going to be an extremely difficult period, starting already now, but it will actually intensify radically even by Christmas here in Australia. So you can see this unfolding pretty quickly now. We've actually been amazing that we dodged a bullet with a GFC, the mining boom and so on really managed to do a lot of prosperity for Australia, but in places like in Perth, where the mining boom was so big, housing from the peak's now down about 17%. So it's really difficult, and so much of Australia's wealth is tied up in the housing market. It's quite incredible, really. 60% of the housing market wealth is actually in Sydney and Melbourne. But the thing again is to understand is there are layers and layers to this information, that it has a cosmic function. And the cosmic function is to become aware of the dysfunction of the fractional reserve banking system, become aware of the debt slavery that exists all around the world, and basically the economic system is built on unethical foundations. So the function is to reveal the dysfunction and then to bring in the new paradigm through this. So this will be something that will affect us all and will actually engage a lot of people to start becoming more engaged and participating in the democratic process, and to become more vocal. So this will take all of us out of our comfort zone, and by no means this will accelerate as we go into the next decade. So it's very important to be very resilient, very present, very allowing, and this won't affect everybody in the same way. I remember once I was listening to a presentation when I was in Rishikesh in India by a Lama, and he actually was speaking about the time when the Chinese invaded Tibet, and he said that not everybody was hurt, not everybody was injured, not everybody suffered in the same way, because ultimately it will come down to individuals' karma. It will come down to what your destiny is and what your integration has. And everyone will have a unique journey through this shift. I mean, some people may suffer economically, but they have great health. Some people may have problems with their, like, a feeling of meaningless, like they don't have a life purpose, but they'll have great relationships. So other people will have different aspects of their life, will be more integrated, more harmonious, and other ones will be more challenging, more problematic. And of course, wherever there's a challenge, there's an opportunity for growth. And that's why some of the qualities that we really need to develop to thrive during the shift are eternal. They are the timeless spiritual qualities of presence, of allowing, of connecting with this state of acceptance, of being resilient, and not getting too caught up in the events of our life, and being the witness consciousness, the observer, the watcher, connecting to this eternal now. So this will be part of the paradigm shift, and this is what everybody signed up for to come to experience. And the shift is going ahead full power. It is unstoppable. The cosmic cycle that we are ending, a new one is beginning. And this is basically connecting to this state of the high vibration, superior consciousness. All these issues of the darkness will come forward, will be addressed, will be cleansed, will be integrated at a personal level and a collective level, so that we can truly experience these genuine states of unconditional love, of harmony, of balance, of abundance, of joy, true inner peace, not just pretty pictures on social media. So in terms of the tragic events that have unfolded in New Zealand, it's another senseless act of violence, of course. I would just say this, that to really integrate and accelerate the paradigm shift, don't let hate win. Whoever you are, whatever you believe in, whatever your political views are, your social views, views on economics or the environment, or certain political figures, whatever it is, the agenda or that is being executed on this planet so effectively is to keep the humans in a lower vibration of hate, fear. And no matter who you are and what you believe in, if you carry that vibration, then you're actually contributing to the agenda of the elite. And it doesn't matter in what context, if you're opposing a certain war or a certain social issue. If you let hate win, if you let fear win, then you're actually helping execute this agenda of darkness. So it's something to really keep in mind if you're an activist, exposing the wrongs, or a social justice type person. It's the consciousness that you bring with it that is the founding aspect of the actions that flow, the cornerstone of your own integration into this. Because if you're part of the peace movement and you're in a state of anger or hatred, then it's just not having the same effect at the subtle level. Because this physical world will be the last one that transforms. By transforming the subtle world, and the subtle world in us, the thoughts, the emotions and so on, then you are fighting a very noble fight, a noble cause, with a state of love, with a state of balance, with a state of harmony. And as difficult as it may be sometimes when you see the injustice of the world, the senseless acts of violence in whatever context, it's important to remember that don't let the darkness win. Don't let the darkness win. And that's very important. So the African proverb, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm, is very relevant in these times. And I wish you all the best for the journey forward. Hope to make another update soon. It is a profound time we're living through. It's a challenging time. It's an exciting time. We are on a roller coaster. The energy is smoother than 2018, and I feel that the integration will continue to happen and the shifts will continue to happen in a positive context. It is the ultimate battle between good and evil that we are executing, that we are addressing on this planet. And I am supremely confident that good will prevail, that we will usher in the new paradigm of consciousness for humanity. It is a mammoth task, and it is one that I feel is inevitable, but it doesn't mean that we can do nothing. We must make efforts. It's something that we can achieve collectively. So thanks for watching. I hope this was of some use to you, and I wish you all the best for the journey ahead. If you're watching this, you are the shift.